the marketing slash business model. I see that this presentation is, it said, I call it marketing, but of course when things like this come up, we're thinking about the business model pure and simple. So let's study some nice examples, 3 business models for one company. Uurtje factuurtje, subscription-based, and a one-time sales price. You can see sort of where this is coming from. You can see that, well, one-time sales price is how it used to be. Used to be that a company like Coca-Cola would say, okay, we are going to buy stock, we're going to spend 20 million on it and have a goal, and end up spending 50 million, but automating the whole company with it. Subscription-based is of course much more like labor side, and uurtje factuurtje are all the services on top of your product, or maybe you are just a full service company. So what are the upsides and downsides? I think each of us will, I think some of you guys are in for quite a nice and comfy ride. If you look at Frappit or Spotmeister, you guys have the problem of, okay, now we are live, but we're still not making any money. We have to go very deep into our own pockets before we actually start getting a return on our investment. Now for you 3 and for you 3, for you it's going to be, okay, first we do some consultancy. For you also, Frederik and Thijs, you just do some consultancy, you make 100 euros an hour times a couple of months, and all of a sudden there's some money in the bank that you can use for product development or for marketing, or at first you'll be very tempted to buy a new car, but let's hope you don't do that. So, well, there's some upsides and downsides to this. You have a direct return, so your cash flow wise it's very smart, very profitable also. Of course it's not scalable, so as soon as both of you are working for a customer, after 1 or 2 years you will see you've made no progress on your product. It's usually a bit of a danger. Quite interesting for labor side. Usually whenever I sold that to a customer, the customer would say, well, you also need to do this and this and this for us. And this has enabled us to build in new things into our product paid by the customer. So because as we're building it in, other customers also need this. So that's a fairly typical model in this industry. Quite cool. This is a link that leads to a site that still works. Yeah, so here you can basically calculate how much money you should be asking, how many days you'll be working per year, blah, 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 blah. The only problem is I think if I click on this, alright, now it's still, I think I once filled it all in and it didn't work. So, but the questions that are asked are already interesting, so you should definitely take a look at that if you're thinking about uurtje factuurtje. Well, subscription-based, I think we all know the upsides and downsides, especially those of you who followed product software, of course, that I teach in the bachelor. Because there we talk about, easy to calculate cumulative income, great for long term, very hard for short term. I mean, with Leef cycle, you're still, like 10 paying customers in the highest class, so that's 10 times 75 a month. We're making about 750 a month, which is nothing, I can tell you that much right now. So, I mean, we need 7,500 a month to pay all the developers and pay the salespeople, etc. Very interesting. Well, short-term liquidity problems. This I've seen some very interesting examples of this. One company was growing so fast that they went broke, so they went bankrupt. The picture is actually quite simple if you see the numbers. What they had was they had a customer acquisition cost of $200 to get the customer. Then the customer would start paying $20 a month, and customers tended to stay anywhere upwards of 24 months, so there's no problem there. But as you can imagine, if you have to pay 200 for every new customer, well, 200 times 10 customers is 2,000. So if you want to get 10 customers a month, you need to pay 2,000 a month for them. And then of course in this next month you'll have 20 times 10, so an income of 200. So that month you're running a deficit of $1,800. So you're still growing, and you're essentially, you should be a profitable business, but you're not because of the difference between these two. And of course you want to grow very fast, you want to get a lot of money. Now typically a company like this will then acquire, how do you say this, an angel investor or a larger investor who will then spend a lot of money on you because they see, hey, whatever we put in is going to come out tenfold or whatever. But if this rate is too slow, and in the case of this company, the price wasn't 20, but I think it was 10. So they knew the money was going to come back, but it would take almost more than 2 years, or more than a year and a half to make the money back. They couldn't find a funder for this, so in the end they went broke.
Yes. They also solved this by giving the customer the option to pay in the advance.
Yes, yes, this is essentially a very good trick, and we give them a nice discount of 10% or whatever. No, it's a very good thing. Yeah. Oh, here's all example there. And of course the one-time sales price. I think for some of you this might be interesting. I think, well, the three of you, you'll be selling services on top of your products anyway, so you can sell the product for a set price, say 10K, but then of course the services that come extra are going to last for maybe a year, 2 years, 3 years. So it will be a nice balance there, I think. Of course, the danger about this thing, if you're Exact Compact, for instance, Exact Compact, you can't sell services because it's a product that's anywhere between 60 and 300 guilders. Exact Compact is an old product. So every year you need more customers because, well, and you're unable to predict your revenue. Because it could be that the market goes down and you still have so many salespeople or so much in your marketing campaign, and then you're in a bit of trouble. So this is why typically you see in the product software company a hybrid model with which facturage and a one-time sales price. Yeah, this is a nice case study. It's a case study from, I think I can tell you now, when you followed the class, I couldn't tell you that this was about Urios, the product from, what's his name? So they recently switched to a subscription-based price. They used to offer the product for 800 plus 150 maintenance a year, and their competition sold product for 480 a year, so it was actually a hard sell because most customers thought, well, we're going to be trying this product out for maybe half a year, but if we step out, then at least we didn't waste 800. Essentially, this guy was cheaper, but he sold less, and these guys became bigger than him. So now he switched to subscription-based, which is great because new customers are coming like crazy, but the old customers, of which he still has about 200-300, well, they don't want to use the version 2 of the product because they're all still, you know, on the old payment model. They invested, they're happy, and they're saying, well, why would we, but the problem is he doesn't update the first version of the product anymore. There's a nice little conflict there. He's constantly trying to, you know, invent new plans to get people to move from this plan to the new subscription-based plan. So that's something you need to think about, and I think most of you, you know, this is a bit of an old-fashioned view on things because I think most of you are thinking, you know, price per month anyway, or more complex things like that. So you take home. Well, I think I already said it today to separate teams also. I like it when an idea is disruptive. Also the product definitions, many times I say, well, not so sexy. For some of your products, I just don't find, I don't feel the spark yet. I don't feel like, wow, this is going to be something. Could be that your team is still very young, could be that the entrepreneurs are still very young. I keep giving some examples, but Onetime is one that I find just sexy. It just has something. There's value in data. It's a big data challenge, which is even happening right now. So I see a number of things going for it. Well, I don't want to pick somebody out that I don't find sexy, but I think you all know who you are. That sounds horrible. Very important, marketing costs are very, very high, much higher than you will estimate at this point. And this is also why I constantly will tell you your price is too low. Whatever you're going to mention to me, even if you think, wow, that's 10 times as high as we imagined it would be, I'm still going to say it's too low because at the end of the day, there are so many other costs you didn't think of yet. So marketing costs are one of those. They're really huge. Marketing and sales are just expensive. So consider that to begin with. With Labelside, we are burning pretty much every euro that comes in, so the $7.50 a month, plus give or take. We're spending that all on marketing, on AdWords, on all types of different things, just because we want more customers. Well, be creative, that's the you know lesson. €0 marketing, it's possible, so do it. Think of the 4 Ps. And pricing is a very complex matter, and as you can see, it can be detrimental to the company, so it can be very bad for you if you do it wrong. Alright, that's the end for the marketing part. I want to talk a little bit about product development in a minute. Any questions about marketing? Any tips, tricks?
No, there was one. The first version of Oracle was version 3. He did that on purpose to give people more confidence in his product.
Yeah, that's a really great point.
So we're going to be releasing version 1.7, I think.
Ah, very good. Yeah, so nobody has to step in with the beta version. This is a bit of a credibility gap issue. So how do you convince your customer that you are experienced, that you are still going to exist in 2-3 years' time? It's something that many companies, especially if they pay a high price, they want to buy a relationship also. They want to buy a company that they trust in. So that's one solution. Another solution is, again, pricing. If you sell your product for 5,000 euros, when people think, well, a car for 5,000 euros can't be a good car. You know, it's got to be some kind of Indian piece of crap or Sanyong or whatever. A car for 50,000, well, that's got to be BMW or Mercedes. Now we're talking good. So the price that you put on the product, even if you are, so if you do cost-based pricing, and you think, well, we're students, we cost about this much an hour, maybe 10, 15 euros an hour, so then we should charge this much. Then any big company that is going to buy from you, they're going to say, well, these guys are students, we don't want to have anything to do with them. I once actually had a meeting right after I finished university. I went to work for Rotterdam.nl, so the gemeente, the local government there. And I did a consultancy project. And I was sitting in a meeting and they asked me, so how much do you cost an hour? This was in Gilder days still, 2003. Or maybe Euro days, I don't know. And I was sitting there and, and I said, well, at